Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. So today I want to talk to you guys about potty training. So I went online on Instagram and on our YouTube community tab, and I asked you guys to let me know what the one thing you wish you knew before potty training your kiddos was. So I did get a few responses and I wanted to go over those answers with you guys. I wanted to give you guys what I wish I knew before starting our potty training journey. So this could be interpreted many different ways. So I got a lot of answers regarding wanting some tips on the things that they are still struggling with. So I will go ahead and try to answer some of those questions as well. So I have experience with my son, and I do have some experience with some clients in regards to potty training. Every child has their own way of tackling this. Every child has their own timeline. So this is probably one of the harder things that I had to deal with in regards to Christian, and it took us about 3 years to get him fully potty trained. And this isn't everybody's journey. Sometimes it takes a long time and sometimes it doesn't take that long. Honestly, some kids are very controlling about where they void and if they void in the potty, or if they can only do bowel movements in their pull-up. So there is a control factor to that. There also is the sensory factor, the feeling of like peeing in an open space versus the feeling of peeing in the pull-up, or the feeling of like the underwear itself. Maybe they're sensitive to like a certain material. Maybe they don't like to clean up their messes. There's a lot of factors in that. So I guess we can start with some of the answers that I received. So let's see. Somebody said they wish they knew about training underwear that has padding. I wish I knew about that too. I did receive some comment when I was potty training my son, and they did mention padded underwear. I do feel like I remember not necessarily buying any because there wasn't any in my son's size. He is a big boy, so I remember thinking that they looked pretty small. So some kids, it does work the way that feeling wet and having the pee not be absorbed does help them feel that need to like, oh, I'm alerted that I peed on myself, because a lot of times wearing a pull-up, they don't feel that sensation, so they don't even care. So that is a good alternative if you have underwear with padding. Maybe they still feel the wetness but not necessarily all the mess, because I remember as a parent having to clean up the mess was really, really like the moment of like frustration when, let's say you just took them to the bathroom like 2 minutes ago and then they pee on themselves. That can be very frustrating. So that's a good one, Melissa. Simply D said, never knew it was this hard. When you have a child that can't sit for 5 minutes, don't get me started with playing with bowel movements. Yeah, so there's a lot of TMI factors to potty training. There is the sensory part of, messy play, to put it gently. And that definitely is uncomfortable to clean up, to look at, to everything. So I definitely understand that. My one suggestion for that would be I know it's hard, but don't give it any attention. Depending on the function of that behavior, if they are doing that to get attention, that for sure is going to be continually reinforced. That way that they don't feel that like reinforcement of like, oh, I got mom to look at me, or I got mom to smile, or I got her to talk to me for doing this bad thing. You want to reinforce the good stuff more than the bad stuff, if that makes sense. So instead of saying, for example, if they are wet, if they did have a pee accident, instead of being like, oh my God, here we go again, I just took you to the bathroom, why didn't you pee in the bathroom? You can instead try to praise whenever they are dry, like, oh, I love that you're still dry, good job staying dry. That way they get more of a attention and like happiness and verbal praise by doing something good, even if it's just still being dry. Let's see. Somebody said we're still struggling. I understand that. Somebody said the idea of cutting a hole in the pull-up from the beginning, they said they wish they knew that. She said it's more for a bowel movement versus peeing. So I don't have that much information on that. She did say that she would email me. So if I do get more information, I'll try to post that somewhere on the community tab or on this video. I might pin it if it is a good advice. It sounds interesting. I actually never heard of that before. Let's see. Another one said Eurydia Yuridia said she wished she knew starting boys with just sitting down on a toilet for pee and poop, and maybe starting them little when they are 2 or 3, not sure, but I have a feeling it would have been easier and faster for my child. Yeah, I started Christian sitting down, and actually in my last video I mentioned that I'm trying to have him stand up, not necessarily for all of his restroom needs. It's mostly when we are out in the wilderness, as I call it, because he finds it very hard to pee in a portable potty, the little ones. So obviously it would be easier if he could just stand up. So, but definitely I think it's a lot easier to have a child learn sitting, to do both things versus standing for one and sitting for another one. That way, you know, they could tackle 2 birds with 1 stone. So that is a good advice. And definitely I think every child is different, but I don't think you can start too young. The average, I would say, is about 3 years old is when kids start getting potty trained. I would say even if they don't understand the whole process, to start explaining and having visuals on what it means to go pee-pee in the potty or or bowel movements in the potty. If they have that from a young age, seeing that and repetition and possibly having a routine for the bathroom is a game changer. A lot of times I wasn't sure how much Christian understood about the whole potty routine. He got the potty routine down before he was even peeing in the toilet. So just getting one aspect down and understanding, you know, we turn on the light, we pull down our pants, the basic skills of, you know, having your independence of going to the bathroom, the adaptive skill is very important. So I don't think there's a too young of an age to start. Just don't expect that whole process of having voids already, I would say. It is a long journey, and as long as you're patient and you're breaking down each step, it would be a lot easier for you. Angela said, I'm currently trying to potty train my son. I could certainly use some advice. Visuals and explaining. So even sitting down, and even if it's for 5 to 10 seconds of sitting there, having a quick little story or visual like, oh, this is the toilet. We go pee in the toilet. You know, like having them sit there and look at that. Repetition and consistency and patience definitely is key. I agree with that. As well, I think it's very important to find something that is really, really motivating. So if, for example, Christian, he had his Skittles, that was highly motivating, and I would have it as a visual. So I bought this little jar and I put it on top where the toilet is. And he would see it when he would come in, and I would tell him, you know, he would point to it and I'd be like, oh, no, we have to pee in the toilet first and then we get a Skittle. So at one point it became very motivating where he would, you know, finally pee in the toilet and I would give him the Skittle. So I would definitely recommend finding that one thing that's very, very, very motivating and only use it for that, you know. Or like I said before, if you guys don't follow me on Patreon, we are giving more specific and broken down tips over there. I just started the potty training series. I do have one video out already, and it is free for anybody to see. So if you guys want to click on the link, I'll leave it down below in the description box. You can scroll down. You don't have to become a member, and you can access that video. It's just explaining what I did or what I recommend to start the potty training process. I have many years of trying with Christian, and I tried every 5 minutes. I tried every 30 minutes. I tried lots of fluid. I tried underwear. I tried underwear with diaper. There's a lot of things that we tried. And my one, I guess if we're going to jump right into mine, since we're talking about it, my one thing that I wish I knew was to not force the process. I feel like as parents, we feel very overwhelmed and stressed, and like a timeline, like a deadline, like somebody's chasing us with this. You have to reach potty training at age 3. How is your kid 5 and not potty trained? We feel the weight of everybody's judgment, even if they're not judging us. We feel like we're supposed to be there already. I know I felt it like, wow, Christian is going to be 6 and he's not potty trained. Christian is going into kindergarten and he's not potty trained. And I wish I didn't think like that. And I hope that you guys don't think like that. Every kid has their own timeline. And, you know, every timeline is special and different. And what might work for me might not work for you. And what worked for me might work for you. Or it could be a combination of everything. And I just wish, my one thing I wish I knew was to not make it so stressful for me or for him, because I want you guys to find a potty routine that really is achievable and manageable and the least stressful for you guys. So if that means putting underwear and a pull-up on at the same time, then do you. If you're not ready for that underwear, then you're not ready, and your kid's not ready, because it is a commitment. I don't think I was mentally ready for that, and like the bowel accidents and all that stuff, until he was 5, until all of a sudden, you know, we were like, we're gonna do this, it's summertime, we got this, and we did get it. You know, it just was our time, it was our moment to do that. So if you need to do what you have to do, then do it without any kind of like feeling of judgment or anything like that. If you want to try standing up, you could try it. You know, I would recommend anything that is less stressful. So my biggest example is I would take them every 5 minutes, and I have a playlist with all of our potty training videos and our journeys and diaries. If you guys want to go back and review those, a lot of times I kind of forget exactly what we did when we did it, and I'll look back and I'm like, dang, that was tough on us, you know? So if you guys want to check that out, that's an interesting playlist for sure. Just taking him every 5 minutes. As soon as I would say, oh, the potty time, you know, he would get so frustrated and so angry, and I'd be like, I know, buddy, I was doing my hair and I have to stop already. It's been 5 minutes. Like, it sucks. The whole fight to even go to the bathroom, that shouldn't be happening. You know, I feel like it has to be a good time. You know, you guys are both going at this the wrong way. I feel like if it's not okay for either of you guys, if you're having that mental drain, take a step back. And if it's not working and you've tried, you know, A, B, and C, and you feel like you did the best that you could, take a break. You know, give it a few months. Doesn't mean you don't do the routine. Doesn't mean you can't take them every hour instead of every 20 minutes. Just don't force it. Don't get so stressed that it's just like, too much, you know, like that you're having a whole moment even just thinking about taking your kid. So that would be my biggest tip before starting a potty routine. Make it fun. Okay, another tip somebody gave, her name is Seema, is schedule for pee and poop. That's another really good one, you guys. You guys have some good ones. We're all dealing with about the same thing, and I'm glad that a lot of us have some of these techniques that are that we are implementing. I'm glad that we're all in this kind of like in the same boat. Having a pee and poop schedule is important. Like I said, taking them every hour or so is a good idea. But if you do have a schedule, if you write it out, if every morning you wake up and you take them first thing in the morning, him or her, that's the first one. Mark it down. Say at 9 o'clock, I took my son or daughter to the potty, and he either did or didn't pee, and he peed in the toilet or he peed on himself. You know, like get all that information in. Every hour you check on your child and see if they have a pull-up that's wet. If it's not wet, take them to the bathroom. Mark down any time a void is being made. That way, at the end of the day or even at the end of the week, you can see all those sheets and see if there's a pattern. I'm not sure if that's what you mean by schedule, but you know, having a schedule, even if it's every hour, that's a good schedule. Taking them every hour. But with that, I add making sure that you have a pattern, which is hard. As I say this, I remember that Christian didn't really have a pattern to him. And especially if you're adding juice to the factor because you're trying to get more opportunities, you know, that just makes it completely harder, because it's like juice and salts and Gatorades just make you constantly pee. So it's good for trials, but it's hard when you're trying to find a pattern. So I would say just try to write it down. See if you see a pattern, at least for bowel movements. If you can see that every day your child is going to the potty at noon and having bowel movements, you can make sure that like by 11:30 you're not in the kitchen, you're in the room with your child, and you're making sure you're trying to see if they're pushing, if they're giving any signs. You're taking them maybe every 15 minutes. That way you can try to catch it and it's less stressful. Another person said that they will accomplish this. Everyone's potty training journey is different. Have patience and determination. Yes, Becky, I could not agree more. Patience, determinations, and knowing that there's a timeline for every kid is definitely important. So with that being said, that is what the majority of people said, that it's very hard. And another majority said that it can happen, just have patience. So with all of that, I 100% agree. Those are probably the top two that are very, very important. It is very hard. It can take a long time, but if you have patience and you, continue with it consistently, even if it takes a year or 3 years, it will happen. You know, don't feel like it'll never happen, as long as you try and you make it as less stressful, as fun, because the more you put stress of like, why aren't you peeing in the toilet? I feel like the more they kind of battle you on it. I feel like that was the case with Christian. We did so much of like trying every 5, every 10, every 15, every 20 minutes that it just became like, I'm not gonna, there is a control factor with this, with everything, honestly. A lot of kiddos, they don't have a lot of control in a lot of things that are going on in their life. They have difficulty with communicating. So maybe peeing is the one thing that they know that they can't control. Communication is hard. They can't always say what they need, but they always know when they have to pee and when they're going to do it, if that makes sense. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please, if you guys have any potty tips, any potty advice, anything that you would like to add to this I Wish I Knew video, leave it down below. Our community is awesome. I have learned so much from you guys. I get so much good advice from you guys, things that I didn't know, things that I knew and I forgot about. So please, please, please comment down below. Leave one positive thing that you can tell our viewers, because at the end of the day, we always want to be positive. There are difficult moments, but we got this, guys. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.